Welcome to What's the Scenario with PLRB, where we explore claims and coverage scenarios relevant to insurance professionals. I'm Alicia Watley.
Hi, Alicia. I'm Mike Brode.
And I'm Tim Havler.
And I'm Brennan McLaughlin, Education Counsel at PLRB.
Yay.
Brennan, we get to have you again.
Just here as a guest today.
Okay. All right, so I guess I have to ask Tim this question. Tim, what's the scenario?
Cassie and her neighbor were feuding. They were constantly on each other's nerves, arguing about this or that. One night, the neighbor snuck onto Cassie's property, took a hammer to the freon line, causing the freon to leak out. With no freon in the line, the A.C. units ran under extreme stress, and after just a couple hours, the mechanicals broke down. Cassie got the police involved, but also submitted the claim to her homeowner's insurer. The adjuster's gut reaction upon receiving the claim is that it could be covered and paid out as a vandalism claim, but his manager points out to him that the policy in this claim had an exclusion for mechanical breakdown, and not only that, but the mechanical breakdown exclusion was prefaced by Anti-Concurrent Causation language. The adjuster still feels this loss is in the nature of a vandalism claim and should be covered anyway. Who is right? And while you are sitting with that very difficult and interesting question, I have another less difficult but no less interesting trivia question.
Ooh.
Okay.
All right.
As long as we're on the theme of neighbor feuds. Only one question today, so
Thank you.
almost got to get it right. Okay. Da-da-da. What sitting U.S. senator was assaulted by his neighbor while mowing his lawn in 2017, ultimately suffering 5 broken ribs?
You said
man,
current?
Rand Paul.
I-
Rand Paul!
we got
It was
it.
Rand Paul.
We got it.
Wow.
Yeah, prize for Mike.
Yes.
All right.
Rand Paul, yes. 5 broken ribs. I think he
It's a
maybe
dispute
lost
over
a
lawn
lung
clipping,
too.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, his neighbor claimed that he was stacking up debris on the side of on the property line. He claims it was political, but okay. I'm guessing that the three of you are all too nice to be in any of these neighbor feuds.
I don't know
No,
any
no
of my
stories
neighbors.
there.
I try not to get close to my neighbors.
Alicia, you're pounding on the apartment walls, telling people to shut up.
No, actually, they're pretty good. I usually don't have a problem unless someone's parked in my space. So that's it. I don't want to get into people's business. Just stay out of mine.
Here, here. We get along well with all of our neighbors. The only folks who get into disputes are the dogs. So there's a dog behind us, Captain. And Captain and my bonsai don't get together very well, or get along. So they get out there and bark at each other and get into little doggy disputes. But other than that, dog feud, it's all good in the neighborhood.
We live in such great neighborhoods.
We first moved in, we had a neighbor that would come over and offer us lawn implements for things that she felt we should be doing. It was very helpful.
So I'm going to get this started because I want to know, what is an anti-concurrent causation language? Because that's
Here, here.
helpful to say.
Yes, that is a mouthful. And to read, too.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so insurance policies, they're all based on what caused the loss. It's really important and usually pretty easy. We got a list of this is if it's caused by this, it's covered. If it's caused by this, it's not covered. But what happens when you have two things that combined to cause the loss, either because A caused B caused C, or because A and B combined to cause C at the same time? The multiple causation problem. The standard rule is usually to do a proximate cause analysis, which is usually just asking ourselves, okay, which is the most dominant of the causes, A or B, or others? It could be more than just two. But the policy has this thing called anti-concurrent causation language, which is usually prefaced maybe 8 to 12 exclusions. Mike, reached out
There
of
it
my
is.
pocket there. This one didn't come out of my pocket, but let's go ahead and read the preface. I'm going to read this 3 times because it's that important, and probably
Wow.
going to take 3 times to really get it. Okay, so
Reading number 1.
I'm under section 1, exclusion. So this is going to apply, of course, to coverage A, B, and C. Such loss is excluded regardless of any other cause or event contributing concurrently or in any sequence to the loss. Such loss is excluded regardless of any other cause or event contributing concurrently or in any sequence to the loss. Such loss is excluded regardless of any other cause or event contributing concurrently or in any sequence to the loss. Does anyone want to take a stab on what that means in English?
Huh?
Um, if you have 2 perils that may have caused a loss and one's excluded just because the other one may be covered, it ain't going to pick it up. Is that what they're getting at, Tim?
That's what they're getting at. So we don't even have to do approximate cause analysis as long as, when I said A, B, and C, as long as A or B is one of those exclusions with this preface, then that's the end of the analysis. We can say it's excluded.
Then you will see the end of the analysis. ABC. Huh? Huh?
Everyone
Oh,
laugh.
yay.
Now, it's worth pointing out that the vast majority of states have said this language is okay. You can put it in your insurance policies and we'll uphold it. But there are 4 states where either by court or by legislative body, this is not going to fly. And in those 4 jurisdictions, we do default back to proximate cause. They are Alaska, California, Washington, West Virginia.
Hmm.
But the other 46 states are all, they all allow it. So relating it back to our claim with the neighbor dispute in the air conditioner and the mechanical breakdown, the manager in this claim did point out that there's a mechanical breakdown exclusion and that has anti-concurrent causation language before it. So technically, if we go ABC, vandalism, mechanical breakdown caused the loss. Well, mechanical breakdown is in that chain sequence of events. It has anti-concurrent causation language. So is that end of analysis? We say excluded?
I don't know. It doesn't feel right to me, Tim.
Doesn't feel right. You're with the adjuster. You got a gut feeling that this seems more like vandalism.
Yeah, because it is. Lady came over and took a hammer to my AC unit. Pay me, Tim.
Wait, is there proof of such vandalism?
Ooh,
Well, she did call the cops. I'm going to assume that she's being honest with them.
Well, here's the thing. It could have been mechanical breakdown without the, vandalism, so we don't know unless we got proof.
Oh, you're saying the unit just broke down because it was old?
Mm-hmm. Could have been.
Now, if that
wow.
was the case, I'd be very comfortable excluding this as a mechanical breakdown because it's more like wear and tear. There's not a external cause. It's just that's why the exclusion is in the policy. AC units break down.
Right. And that's what mechanical breakdown's supposed to be, Tim.
Yeah, right. But if we
Yeah.
do go with the hammer to the line and the freon,
Okay, I'm just gonna assume that she saw the neighbor actually do it and take a hammer to it, so we'll stick with the vandalism.
okay, we'll
But
stick with what she said.
Mhm.
is this really what mechanical breakdown is for, though? Are we sure about this?
I don't know that that's why it was originally inserted into the policy. Usually, the mechanical breakdown exclusion is one of the proximate cause exclusions. So normally we're asking ourselves, okay, which is the dominant cause? And here, I think probably all 4 of us would agree the dominant cause here is the vandalism, and we would maybe prefer to cover this one. But if a company wants to restrict coverage further and they've drafted their policy this way, then that was their choice. And if they take it to court and they're in one of the 46 6 states that uphold this language, I do think they would have a good argument here to exclude this loss if that's the route they want to go down.
Of course, we don't define mechanical breakdown, right, Tim, in the policy.
Not in the policy. A common definition would be something like a defect in the moving parts of machinery, which causes it to stop operating. The key elements I usually think of are moving parts and no longer operating. I do think we have that at least the definition is satisfied here.
But it does seem usually when you think of a mechanical breakdown, and it usually is around like the wear and tear and rust and corrosion and that stuff. So you think kind of long term, the thing's just no longer, it's over its useful life and it just broke down, you know? Not that the neighbor comes over and malicious mischief slams that hammer upon my AC unit and damages it. That then leads to the thing to wear out. No, not wear out. Suddenly and accidentally destroy itself because of vandalism.
Right, right. So I have seen once, and the reason I made this hypothetical is I have seen once the anti-concurrent causation language paired with the mechanical breakdown. It's extremely rare for the reasons that Mike just cited. The preface itself, the anti-concurrent causation preface, you started to see it in policies in the 1980s, and the whole point of it originally was it helps promote certainty in claims handling and some of these losses where we don't want insureds to avoid an exclusion by making a proximate cause argument. Example, flood and surface water. Okay, very clearly we want to exclude those under the homeowner's policies. If you want your flood insurance, you can buy flood insurance, but it's not under the normal homeowner's policies. Well, a creative or enterprising plaintiff's attorney, knowing that he's under the proximate cause doctrine, could say, well, the proximate cause of this flood isn't the flood, it's the weather conditions that led to the flood. So you see, you could always try to wiggle out of this. So by putting the anti-concurrent causation language before the flood surface water exclusion, we just get all that out of the way right off the beginning because it's the non-starter. But again, then you start to put that exclusion with mechanical breakdown or wear and tear and get into all sorts of more difficult results like here. You know, the other thing I was thinking is that if this company wants to take this approach and taking it to the extreme, aren't we basically saying any time any machine breaks down for any reason, then there would be no coverage, even like a fire? So a fire destroys everything, and we're going to pay for everything except for the air conditioner unit because that was a mechanical breakdown. So it just, again, you know, it can get kind of strange if you want to take the literal approach. But again, in this claim, I think it would at least be a reasonable argument.
No. Tim, what can we take away from this scenario?
Okay, to recap, neighbor drained the insured's air conditioner of Freon, causing the unit to break down several hours later. This homeowner's policy was unique. It prefaced the mechanical breakdown exclusion with anti-concurrent causation language. Under this unusual policy language, the insurer can assert that the loss is excluded as mechanical breakdown, even if the proximate cause might otherwise be vandalism. This shows the power of the anti-concurrent causation preface and why it is usually only paired with a limited set of exclusions.
Power.
And is it my line next? Probably. Mike?
Oh, yeah?
Where can an adjuster go to learn more?
No, Tim, of course. You can head on out to www.plrb.org. Check out all sorts of cool stuff. We got coverage questions on stuff like mechanical breakdown and anti-concurrent causation. You can also look at annotations to the policies about mechanical breakdowns and latent defect, hair and vice, and of course there's annotations on the anti-concurrent causation preface as well. Check it all out, plrb.org. And Alicia, there's
Yes.
links to these various things too. Can we stick those in the show notes somewhere
Sure
potentially?
can. So if
Yay.
you head over to our show notes, we can have links to the documents that Mike was just talking about. We'll have a recap of all the key points from this episode. We'll have links to our social media, and we'll have information on how to submit your own adjuster story. So don't forget to subscribe, rate us, and we'll see you all next time.
Yay.
The views and opinions expressed in this resource are those of the individual speaker and not necessarily those of the Property and Liability Resource Bureau, its membership, or any organization with which the presenter is employed or affiliated. The information, ideas, and opinions are presented as information only and not as legal advice or offers of representation. Individual policy language and state laws vary, and listeners should rely on guidance from their companies and counsel as appropriate.